Yo, what's up, guys? Thank you for coming back to another Hamza Khan show, Hamza Khan video. Um, just gonna get right into wrestling because that's the best thing that we can really talk about. Um, Apologies again, no cards. I'm just failing. It's terrible from me. It just when you have the cards there, it's a shame not to open them. But I will get focused up. I don't think next time I will have any cards, but eventually we'll get back to opening up open cards for every single video. Other than that, obviously there is loads to talk about in terms of wrestling, in terms of wrestling. Really, that's the main thing I really want to talk about. Obviously, we had the Raw of the first um the second uh the second to last John Cena Raw appearance in Boston, his hometown. I thought that Raw was really, really good. It was. I think a lot of people wanted Dominic Mysterio versus John Cena. I think a lot of people were speculating that, wanting that. That was the matchup that everybody. I wouldn't say everybody, but like 90% of people were predicting, were wanting. Where it was gonna happen, not everybody was sure. A lot of people wanted Dominic Mysterio to be John Cena's last match, and then a lot of people wanted maybe in San Diego, that Survivor Series. That's where you'll have Dominic Mysterio versus John Cena. I don't think people expected it to be on this Boston show, this Raw. But I thought that full start to finish, the full introduction till the end. Of course, you have two amazing wrestlers, superstars in Dominic Mysterio and John Cena. I thought it meshed really well. I was really happy with it. It gave me everything that I wanted from that uh, that matchup in terms of the back and forth between the two. You could see the appreciation for Dominic Mysterio, but obviously because it's John Cena's hometown, he's gonna get booed like the old times. They give you that reminder of, even though we're starting to like this guy Dominic Mysterio, we used to hate him, and because of this situation, we're gonna hate on him because he's going against our boy John Cena. But it just worked the full from top to bottom. It worked, and then the match itself was a John's classic John Cena match. If this was 10 years ago, people would have hated it, but because this is his last retirement match, didn't no sell the 619 and the Frog Stars. He just went Super Cena, which is what we want to see. Super Cena is the guy, even though we used to hate him, but now because we're not gonna see it again, we love it. So a really amazing match, really amazing um, kind of interaction that we all wanted to see, and then obviously something that a lot of people predicted at the start of the year, that John Cena would end up being a Grand Slam champion, and he wins the Intercontinental Championship. Going forwards, I don't want. I've been very 50-50 about Dominic Mysterio winning back John Cena, the Intercontinental Championship from John Cena. I was a little bit more that maybe next week we would see Dominic Mysterio come out, wins back the Intercontinental Championship in a bit of a Eddie Guerrero type fashion. John Cena doesn't see it coming. He ends up losing. But I don't think Dominic Mysterio needs that rub anymore. He's already the mega champion. We can leave him as it is. We can leave the Intercontinental Championship after John Cena retires for people like Penta, people like Rusev. You couldn't necessarily have Dominic Mysterio beat these people because it would make them look less than, without obviously the tricks and the uh, kerfuffle. But now that he no longer is the Intercontinental Champion, you can give those guys the opportunity to actually win gold and build up themselves even more than what they are currently as. So the person I'm trying to think of who I would want it to be, because I don't think he'll have the title at Survivor Series. I don't think he'll have the title in his last match either. The last match is it's all about who gets to face John Cena and retire John Cena if he ends up losing, which I think he will. So there's with that being the case, there's a lot of people you can't have. You can't have anybody currently in the tournament. It doesn't make sense for someone to come out who's currently progressing in the tournament. I'm gonna come out beat you now and then beat you later. It doesn't make no sense. Someone I've thought of, what I would like to see, could be very, very interesting, and I feel like would be massive. Who else do you think about with the Intercontinental Championship? You think about obviously Gunther for his longest time as the champion. You think the other one, obviously there's all the legends and everything, but you think the Miz. You think the Miz as the Intercontinental Champion, as he mentioned before multiple times, he made that the most relevant title on the show. It would be so. It would be really, really good if it became the case that after losing, obviously at SmackDown, he went against Jey Uso, ends up losing out of being so mad and annoyed of that fact. He goes to Madison Square Garden, forces a match with John Cena, and ends up winning the Intercontinental Championship. That would be so Miz. It would make sense, and it would people would hate the Miz. Even though a lot of people appreciate him now, being someone to ruin that, that would be the Miz. That's my. If I was gonna pick someone right now, it would be the Miz. That's the person I could think of. That's the storyline that I could build thinking about it going forward. So hope that's what I want to see. I want to see the Miz actually beat John Cena. We get to see the massive Miz match. Gets the Intercontinental Championship off John Cena. He can go on to do whatever he needs to do, and we move on. On the opposite side of that, on Raw, another thing that was very significant, very interesting. Obviously, we've got now the building of Survivor Series, especially what we've seen on SmackDown as well. This week, we've got confirmed 4 people already. Sorry. You got 4 people already on both sides of the team. You've got CM Punk, obviously, Cody Rhodes, Jimmy, Jey Uso, and then on the other side, you've got uh, Braun, you've got Logan Paul, and then Drew McIntyre. I kind of predicted that it would be Drew McIntyre on the team. It kind of made sense, especially the relationship that Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul had. It makes sense that they would team up and then join alongside the Vision. Um, I liked how it made sense that what happened on Raw, because obviously Cody comes out when they were going to have the attack with Logan Paul and the Bronze versus Jay and Punk. Cody came out, but obviously we've seen beforehand that Cody Rhodes was in the building. He had already been there. He came to see John Cena's last match in Boston. So it made it. I really liked that. I don't like it when they just. It doesn't make sense for them to be there. Why is Cody Rhodes at the show? It doesn't make sense. But this now makes sense. He came to see John Cena. He was backstage. He saw what was happening because of his character, because of who he is. he ends up coming out and tries to actually help, and then ends up joining the team. And then we obviously had the William Regal backstage confirm this is War Games. So obviously you've got those four teams. Well, what I would have really liked to see was a little bit more of a thing brought about with Jimmy joining their team. It seemed a bit of like a little brother move, how he was presented in joining the division. I think that just from me, because he just came up to Cody, spoke to Punk over the phone. I'm on your team. Okay, cool, bro. There's nothing. There's no. It doesn't add layers. It didn't add layers for me. It just seemed a bit of a who can we chuck in? Oh yeah, Jimmy. I feel like they should have built it a little bit more and just presented it a little bit more of a thing. When everything's happening, when the attack is happening, Jimmy comes out. Of course, Jimmy's gonna come there to protect his brother. He comes out, he joins alongside the team. Off that, obviously you've got. I think it will definitely be a. Just making sure the call works. Yes. Obviously, you've got the fact that I think it's gonna be a five-man team, so you're gonna have to have someone join the Survivor Series for the good guys and obviously the bad guys. So you've got to think of someone who's gonna be the fifth man for either team. I think you've got if you're working it out, you've got a few kind of approaches you can go off. For the We'll start off with the bad guys because that's a bit more of a difficult question who's actually gonna be on that team. You've got Brock Lesnar, which is a very obvious pick. He has the relationship with Paul Heyman, so I think maybe it could be Brock Lesnar. It is a bit of a not a basically Brock Lesnar overpowered. That's the problem with having Brock Lesnar in that War Games match. I don't know how Drew McIntyre will feel. I don't think Logan Paul will care. Don't think the Braun Brown will care. It'll just be that kind of feeling between Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar. Thinking about it in my head, it just doesn't sit right. So you gotta think who else. It is an option. It can happen, but who else could you? Who do you think could be in that team? You've so let's think about it. Who else is a heel that would make sense? If you're going through Raw, there isn't anybody that screams out to me on Raw. Neither on SmackDown. Maybe Aleister Black, but it doesn't. I don't think he's built enough to be in there. Um, who else could be on that team? There's not really anybody else screaming out to me. You know, you've got Drew, you've got Solo wouldn't, Rusev wouldn't. Not sure who would be that member. Maybe it would have to be maybe a surprise. I guess you have a surprise in Brock Lesnar, but it's a very difficult question who that fifth member is going to be. Maybe it's super obvious, and I'm not thinking about it, but We we'll see what happens. What happens next. On the other side, obviously, you got the good guys team. It's very a lot more easier. You can pick who's going to be on that team. Obvious picks. You saw them chanting on SmackDown. You've got Roman Reigns. That's an option. John Cena, never been in a War Games match. That could be a monumental moment for him. You saw the picture on Instagram with John Cena with the Intercontinental Championship, CM Punk with his World, and the Cody Rhodes with his WWE Undisputed Championship. We're all in that picture, so that could be very, very iconic to have John Cena in there. Who else? I thought Penta, but I think he's busy with um, the tournament. Um, so who else? I think those are the bit of the obvious bits. You've got Jay, you've got Jimmy, who wouldn't mind too much with Roman being in that team. You've got Cody Rhodes, who's teamed with Roman Reigns before, but then Roman Reigns does not like CM Punk, so it'll be very difficult to see Roman Reigns being on that team. It's very difficult to pick who the last members could be because with it being the last member, you want it to be something special. You want it to be something. You can't just add someone. It needs to have. It needs to make sense, but also link further on. We'll have to come back to see what they do with whoever is the fifth member of Team Vision and Team Punk. Um, we've had the first four matches of the Last Time Is Now tournament. We had obviously Rusev versus Damian Priest, a good match. It continued the story of what the issue is with Damian Priest. It made sense that Rusev would win and it made him look strong. Right move, I'm happy with that. You had Sheamus versus um, Shinsuke Nakamura. Another amazing match, two amazing wrestlers. Sheamus won. I think maybe at the ending it was a bit because of what timing was. I think it did get sped up, but overall it was really really good match. I enjoyed it from top to bottom. So you got those two. Then you've got on SmackDown. What happened was obviously as mentioned before, Jey Uso beat The Miz, and then you got LA Knight versus Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona. I'm not sure how I feel about that match. It was I think he should have came back as Matt Cardona. That's how I feel. I liked it. It was an amazing moment with it being Zack Ryder as it was presented, but I feel like we've known him. People know him now as Matt Cardona, so having him come out as Zack Ryder felt a little gimmicky, in my opinion. But it felt like an excuse for. It gave a reason for LA Knight to actually win, if you get what I'm saying. But obviously LA Knight won. So currently we've got those four, and then you've got the announcements of the matches next week. You've got Solo versus a mystery opponent. You've got Gunther versus Javon Evans. I don't know what Javon Evans is gonna do, but he's got a tough week there, but and then you've got for the week you've got Carmelo Hayes versus who is he facing? Sure, I remember who they're facing. I know Penta's involved. Who else is involved in that in the last four? Try to work it out. Bronson Reed. So I think you've got Carmelo Hayes versus Bronson Reed. I think Bronson probably wins that. Bit obvious. I don't think Carmelo Hayes has got. Maybe he does. Maybe he does. Maybe somehow because of Team Punk getting involved, that causes Bronson Reed to maybe lose from like count out or something like that. Um, and then who's Penta facing? It's not a mystery opponent. It's someone else. Who's Penta facing? Don't know. I don't remember who he's facing. When bit obvious. I think it's probably the obvious pick sort of person, but I just can't think of it right now. Penta, Penta, Penta. I don't know. We don't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Getting ahead of ourselves. Anyways, with those four people, what I would like to see is I don't want Jay to go any further. I don't want Ellie Knight to go any further. My opinion. I think that you'd have I want to say Rusev versus Jay Uso, and then I want to see LA Knight versus Sheamus, and I want both Sheamus and Rusev to win. It's a John Cena last time now tournament. Those guys have had so many opportunities. Even though obviously LA Knight has not won the World Heavyweight Championship, I don't care. Me, my opinion, me seeing John Cena versus LA Knight doesn't do anything for me on his last match. Same thing with Jey Uso. It doesn't give me. I love them both. I really like them both. They're some of my favorite wrestlers, but it doesn't do anything for me. I don't. Doesn't give me the nostalgia. It doesn't give me. I've seen them move so many times. I've seen them do what they need to do every single time in the main events of the past year, and it's not something that I'm interested in seeing going forwards. But we'll see what happens, obviously, with what happens at Raw going next week, and then also on SmackDown. If they can bring a goddamn bracket up, show us everything on a bracket, is that Mike and Cole and Corey Graves just talking that out, it would be really appreciated. Anyways, on that, you've got we had NXT, which is another amazing show on NXT. You had, of course, what everybody is talking about, Obafemi returning, which the match itself was really, really good. It was really built well. He had massive spots. I think it did. Maybe it got rushed at the end. Personally, I feel like he maybe needed a little bit more time for each of the moves to be breathed in or brought in. But obviously, you can't necessarily do that because it's a last man standing match. They need to get up in 10 seconds. So maybe it felt quicker than normal because of that reasoning. But otherwise, it was a really amazing match. And obviously, Ricky Saints won. But then you've got then Oba Femi came out and he had crazy aura, man. He came out, he was going, ooh, ooh. The crowd was chanting, and I think it's very obvious what we're going to see going forward. I don't think it'll happen at Gold Rush. I think we might see a face to face between them and Gold Rush, but I think it'll be deadline when we have the Oba versus Ricky Saints rematch. I think that makes sense. You could potentially see Trick Williams being thrown into that, and it becomes a triple threat. I wouldn't be mad, but um, I think maybe it just needs to be Oba versus Ricky again. Even though it's a repeat match, it's still there was so much left from that last match that they could do that it would make sense to do it in this rematch. But overall, it was an amazing show as per usual with NXT. It's always amazing. Always really enjoy that show. Always gives you good feels at the end. You've got storylines built. You've got people learning, developing, but then you've also got something extra in there that I feel like sometimes with SmackDown or Raw they are missing. That's something special. That's something. Maybe it's commentary. Maybe it's the sounds. Maybe it's the crowd. There is, I do definitely feel a difference between watching an NXT show compared to a Raw or a SmackDown. Anyways, that's gonna be the end of the video. Leave a like if it's good, leave a dislike if it was bad, and remember, no comments. Peace.